This episode is brought to you by Microsoft Azure. Turn your ideas into reality with an Azure free account. Get everything you need to develop apps across cloud and hybrid environments, scale workloads, create cloud-connected mobile experiences, and so much more. Discover what you can create with popular services free for 12 months. Learn more at azure.com. That's AZURE.com. And sign up for a free account to start building in the cloud today.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Forget the frustration of picking commerce platforms when you switch your business to Shopify, the global commerce platform that supercharges your selling wherever you sell. With Shopify, you'll harness the same intuitive features, trusted apps, and powerful analytics used by the world's leading brands. Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/tech, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/tech.
Today's episode, we're going to talk about short form video, what I think of Bitcoin, and how TV is dying. Enjoy.
Were you calling to me from outside of a dream? I wanna live, I wanna love you a little longer. I was invincible many years ago when I was so much stronger.
Welcome to the Age of Jeremy. My name is Jeremy Quintanilla. I will be your host. As always, if you don't know who I am, I own a business called Q Consolidated, and essentially that allows me to own other businesses such as 321 Academy, Q Financial, Age of Radio, Blockheads, the creator of Merlin, the smartest way to track your crypto. So make sure that you head on over to merlincrypto.com and check out our amazing crypto app. I don't want to make this all about ads. So to get through this as quickly as possible, make sure that you follow me wherever you get your social media. I am at Age of Jeremy, or on a few things you can type in Jeremy Quintanilla, or you can go into the episode description and you could find links to everything there as well. Also, make sure that you check out ageofradio.com if you want to be a part of our Age of Radio community. We have a lot of great things coming up in our Discord. We have our anime roundtable. We're going to be having some chess at the park. We're going to be having some live watch parties. So make sure that you go to the episode description, hit that link, and it should open it up to our Discord. We're working on trying to make it more available for people. I think people are having a hard time getting into the Discord, mainly because I checked some of the links and they weren't working. You can also go over to ageofradio.com. We've revamped our website. There's a Discord button in the top. Click that bad boy and you can be led into our Discord, where we are working to have lots and lots of fun. And so you can come and say hi. Come say hi to our community manager, Creator Trey, because we are all about podcasts, audio, geekdom, learning, having fun together. And we're working to make that a fun and safe place. So make sure that you check that out as well. If you want to be a part of a 4-part webinar series that we have for 3T Warrior Academy, where we will help get you on the path to getting your shit together, not only with our 120-day challenge, but also with investing in learning about cryptocurrency, then you can definitely check that out. That was an intercom reports icon that came up. I don't even know. It's probably for Merlin. I'm going to turn that down so you can't hear the next notification that comes in. So if you want to learn more about that, there is a link in the bio as well to set up some time to speak to one of our onboarding specialists at 3T Warrior Academy. So you can definitely check that out. Also, we're vamping up and going hard in our financial business when it comes to insurance. So if you want to learn about Index Universal Life Insurance, how to protect your wealth, how to be part of the team, there's also a link in the episode description. I don't want this to be like one long advertisement for all the stuff that I have going on. So make sure that you follow me on all social media platforms and we can stay connected. Let's get into this episode. All right, the first thing that I want to talk about is Bitcoin. I want to make it very, very clear because I think people get a little bit, can get a little bit frustrated with me because I am very left. And I think people have a misconception about what that means. So I would probably be further left than progressive. I believe in the best way to abolish the state, give the power back to the hands of the people, and allow the people. Unfortunately, it would probably lead back to the same thing where we have some type of elected elected officials. But if we can get away from, if we can get direct representation rather than representation by voting in someone to go, because their best interest, while it starts out probably that they're trying to do our best interest, it kind of gets perverted along the way, because I believe that we are in an oligarchy where we are run by the biggest corporations in the world. And I think that no matter whether you are voting for Kamala, whether you're voting for Trump, you're still leading into the biggest problem, which is the fact that it's the oligarchy that controls all of that, and it's the elites. A lot of people didn't know this, that the two largest donors for the Republic, the largest donor for RFK was Timothy Mellon, a PAC that Timothy Mellon has, and also, he was one of the largest donors for Trump. I don't think the largest donor, but he did donate to Trump. And RFK has moved over to Trump's campaign, which I'm a big fan of most of RFK's policies because they are traditionally progressive, or they are further left than other policies. And I agree with him about the Food and Drug Administration, about the poisons that are in the Food and Drug Administration that Big Pharma and the Food and Drug Administration has control over. So I think that he would be a breath of fresh air to the Food and Drug Administration, which is making it very hard because I'm a precinct committeeman for the Democratic Party, but I am not a big believer in Kamala. Mainly because I don't believe in the way that she wants to do universal basic income. I think universal basic income does two big things, three things if people are worried about inflation. I'm not so much as worried. Yes, we should worry about inflation, but more of my thing is that if we are going to do some type of universal basic income that is fully universal and brought out to every single person that is in the United States, it's going to be taking money away from other people, right? We make well over six figures in my household. I don't need any other income. I would prefer that income go to the people in my state that need the most assistance. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with people getting help. My family was on welfare when we were growing up, multiple individuals inside of my family, and not everybody just focuses on taking advantage of the system. It's there so you can get some help. Just like if a business needs help, it can go through bankruptcy and it can get the help that it needs to move itself forward. And so I don't feel that it causes people, not everybody, it doesn't cause everybody to just want specific handouts. I think that that is a targeted narrative that the right tries to push and that the left panders to show that people need more of the assistance, when a lot of people just need a little bit help getting back on their feet. And I think UBI can take away from that. The other problem with the universal basic income is if you give everybody in America $1,000 a month, they're going to go and put it back into the hands of the largest corporations, which is where the oligarchy comes from. And so the oligarchy can stay in power. So it's a cyclical thing that causes it to just rotate. So again, when I tell people that I'm against UBI, they're like, oh yeah, go, you're against UBI. We're right. We are Republicans. We're against UBI too. It's not in the same way that I'm against UBI. We essentially want the same thing. I want people to get the help that they need, the most help that they need. And I also want that money to go towards rehabilitating, not maybe rehabilitating them, but getting them the skill set that they need to be successful. So I kind of want to lay out a little bit of my position on blockchain. So to make it clear, I am further progressive and further left than most of the individuals, especially most of the individuals that I'm around. But I do also think Kamala and the Democratic Party are getting a little bit, I guess, caught up in they're getting caught up in looking and evil and making Trump look like he's evil, when I don't necessarily think that he's personally evil. I don't think that he's good for America, but on the same token, I don't think Kamala and Waltz are going to be the best for America either. If Josh Shapiro was going to be her VP pick, that probably would have pushed me over the line to vote for Kamala. And also too, I have a responsibility to the Democratic Party to go out and push Democratic nominees. However, I don't know if I'm going to rescind that this year, or be honest and open and say, hey, look, I'm not going to vote for Kamala. These are the things that I agree with. And I don't think that this is good. Or I will decide to vote for Kamala and be, and make it clear that these are positions that I don't agree with on her. So I haven't made that clear yet. Also too, there is a possibility that I might run for Trump depending on the cabinet position that RFK is going to get, but they're not releasing that. And also too, or if Trump gets rid of JD Vance and makes RFK his president, because RFK would probably be the person that I would vote for. I don't. I think that we need to have a better conversation about Palestine and Israel when it comes to the Green Party. That's one of the things that's stopping me from voting for Jill Stein. But as we go further along with this, I'm not going to tell you specifically who I vote for, but I'll tell you the things that I believe in. And one of those things that I specifically believe in is blockchain. But I don't believe in blockchain because it's going to make us wealthy. I believe in free information, and I believe in for freedom of every single person. And I also believe in the freedom for us to work in communities and create liquidity pools for each other to give money to each other, invest. That's the biggest, greatest form of communism. Okay. So when I use the word communism, I'm not doing it from a state capitalist perspective, like dictatorship, like China, Cuba, and North Korea. I'm talking about it where the community is self-sufficient of itself and they make those decisions for themselves. Okay. And so blockchain allows us to do that because of the ability to definance finance, right? So we are able to democratize finance using blockchain, but there's a lot of bad actors in there. So the problem comes on what type of regulation do you put into play to allow certain things like liquidity pools to still exist, for the technology still be able to be in the hands of all the people to create these financial instruments without people taking advantage of other people. If we are going to allow any type of regulation, that would be the limitedest amount of regulation that I would want, where if you are creating a blockchain project, it has to be registered in some capacity with your state or with the federal government on what you're going to do, and so that they can monitor what is actually happening inside of that business. And even that is still a little bit of a far reach. But I think that until that specific piece happens, I think that it's going to be very, very difficult to create the things that I know that we create with the blockchain if the government does anything with it. Now, on the flip, so that kind of sounds like I'm opposed to the Democratic Party having any control in the blockchain piece of it. Now, before I go into the next thing, both the Democrats and the Republicans, both the left and the right, they have, and I like using Democrats as center, because even though a lot of you think that they're way, way, way far left, there are individuals that might be considered far left, but they're not near as far left as they actually could be. In fact, our far right doesn't really exist in most places in the world. Most places are more our center or our left of center and then further left. As more places become more educated and more knowledgeable, a lot of the views of the right kind of subside over to the left, and that party eventually gets kind of, I don't know, pushed away or pushed aside. Even if they are considered right in the other country, they're what we would consider probably center. Most places don't have a furthest right like we do, but there are some places that do have those types of parties, and that's okay because people can have their own opinion. Now, that being said, it sounds like what I would want is a Kamala thing, or not a Kamala Democratic administration, because of what it would do for the cryptocurrency. And that's technically true. However, which means most people would think that means that I'm for Trump. And it's not, because Trump is going to utilize it in a way that's going to keep it free, so the people that have the most amounts of money, or the corporations and the wealthy, can utilize it to their advantage and still take advantage of all the people down at the bottom, as does capitalism works. Now, that being said, I can't see either side not working towards some type of regulation. I would like it to be where that regulation is more available to the hands of the people and there is no stopping that part. But what will probably happen in both cases is that companies like Vanguard, companies like BlackRock, they will get to buy up the most of these types of assets, and then they will sell them back off to us and get most of the money from it, which is why I'm more of an advocate of keeping things definance in separate liquidity pools like Uniswap, like PancakeSwap, of things of that nature, to some extent VSS Finance, so that we have the ability to create the liquidity that's going to go into the pool for which people can buy and sell these assets on and be a market maker of it. And so that's what I would personally like to see. And I would like that blockchain technology to stay open for everybody to be able to use it. However, unfortunately, once the big boys start to come in and play with it, they have more of the ability to manipulate the markets. And that's one of the biggest problems of why I don't want the right to have control over it. But at the same time, I don't want to have the left have control over it, because they're going to put too many regulations in place for it, which I think both parties would agree that they want the people to be kind of safe for it. So I think that the best thing is to have the limitedest amount of regulation on it that allows certain pools to be created. But I don't think that we should allow, this is just my personal opinion, while I know a lot of people want this and a lot of people are probably going to be against it, I don't personally want it to be part of exchange traded funds. I don't want it to go to that type of mainstream because that's going to allow the elites and the wealthies to manipulate more and more of the coins, the more and the more that they have the power and the ability to do it. Right. And when there's regulation that benefits them specifically, they will make bad decisions. It can cause a lot of these bad things to happen for the smaller people or the retail investors down at the bottom. And that's why I am not an advocate of either side being in this freaking election. And I would like it to be the limited amount of regulation as possible without the corporations being able to utilize it to create baskets of funds and then sell it off as paper. It would always be better for us to go and be able to buy the physical asset, or in this case, the physical digital asset, which is just a digital asset because I know that it's not physical, rather than the way in which we make paper gold and silver gold and all of these other fake real estate money so other people can have access to these markets, because it allows them to have the control over that and for them to allow them to manipulate those marketplaces. And that's my personal opinion. Now, eventually, I think it would be fantastic if there was a way for us to tokenize more stuff, get it into the hands of the people to be able to invest in. And so with that, it's kind of a little bit, I don't want to say hypocritical, but we need regulation to have that. So I would like the regulation to benefit the small businesses and the small investors rather than the regulations to go and play to protect the bigger guys, which I think is what's going to happen if the Republicans get in the office. But if the Democrats get into the office, it's going to be overregulated. And that is usually traditionally the problem that we have with certain things, is that we need limited amount of state intervention in as many things as possible. And I know what you're thinking, then you're probably going to want to know all of my opinions on abortion, all that stuff. And I'm not going to answer those on this. I'm going to try to keep it specifically about where I want blockchain to go, because I think blockchain not only is the future of finance, it's also the future of how we vote. And once we can get ourselves away from the mindset of this is just going to be a way for us to make a bunch of money, which it can be and it is, but what else can we do with distributed ledger technology to make it available for everybody to have access to be able to vote on the most pressing matters from a direct voting and not from a representational voting structure? That's what I would like to see. We'll be right back.
This episode is brought to you by Experian. Are you paying for subscriptions you don't use but can't find the time or energy to cancel them? Experian could cancel unwanted subscriptions for you, saving you an average of $270 per year and plenty of time. Download the Experian app. Results will vary. Not all subscriptions are eligible. Savings are not guaranteed. Paid membership with connected payment account required.
All right. Welcome back. Let's jump into the social media update, or something that's in social media that you should know about. And actually, the thing that I want to talk about is the way in which we deliver information to our team and to our community. And I think I use a lot of different programs. I use Teams. I use Slack now. I use WhatsApp. Teams is probably one of my favorite. And one of my favorite features of Teams is twofold. Two of the things that I want to recommend to you when you are doing social media. And when I talk about social media, there's social media that is going out to your audience, their consumers or customers. And then there's a social media that exists inside of your organization. And that's one of the most important pieces, because it allows us to communicate and to create camaraderie and narrative for the workplace. And so there are some CEOs that are starting to do more short form content and being more transparent out into the public, but they also need to continue to do those things in their businesses. And so one of the things that I think that everyone should start doing on here is utilizing Teams or Slack. Now, Slack, I don't know if it has the ability to do the video the way in which, So one of the great things about video clips is it allows you to be able to talk to someone like you're actually there. And we need to start utilizing more video clips in the social media that we have within our teams. And so Slack and Teams both have the ability, if I want to portray a message or I want to talk to the group, I can record a video clip and it will send it into that channel or into that thread, and they can watch it. And this is really important because it's going to allow you to push the things that you want to push and to be excited about the things that you want to be excited about. I'm reading the Path to Power, the first book in Robert Caro's Lyndon B. Johnson series, autobiography or biography, I guess, in this case, because Lyndon B. Johnson didn't write it. And one of the things that Lyndon B. Johnson did very, very well was that he was able to understand and get the knowledge that he needed to do the thing that he needed to do. And then he was able to make that knowledge exciting for the people that were around him. And so that's something that I want to encourage you to do with the people that you work with, and the friends and the family. So all of our communications, if we can get them to video or in audio, it will allow us to take the knowledge that we're consuming and re-energize it and and to make it top of mind. So for example, inside of Teams, we are working on doing we're doing an overhaul for 3T Warrior Academy with our CRM system. We're moving to a lot of more of automations inside of it, especially automations as it relates to chats and Instagram. And so I do a report at the end of the night or most nights on where we're at on that, trying to figure out what's going on with the movement. And after this, or probably this week, I'll start moving to be more video about, hey guys, I'm really, and it can be something simple. It's like, okay, hey guys, I'm really excited about the new tool that we use inside of using FigJam. It's a workspace that we utilize to map out all of our animations. Make sure that you utilize that to put in the knowledge so that we can all keep it together, right? So I have something that I learned with FigJam. Okay, I know about how the automations work. I laid out the automations in that. And then what I do is I go and encourage them to use it. I talk to them more about it. I encourage them on how we're going to do the automations. And then that keeps it on their top of their mind and it makes them feel more lively about doing the actual project. And that's what's super empowering about utilizing these short video clips with our teams. And it also allows us to create more smaller moments than when we are able to have town halls. So in the business world, there's a thing called town hall. In fact, in Teams, you can actually go into the events and create a town hall event for your team. And a town hall is essentially where the leaders come and they talk about what's going on in the leadership. The problem is that can't hit. It's in like a longer format. And so if we can think about a town hall and we're able to break it down into clips or break it down into being transparent with our team on a regular basis, we can do that more frequently and have more of these touch points. And it makes more people feel involved with what's going on in the company. And not only if they are in the office on a regular basis, but also if they are virtual, it can empower them even more because they're able to see their leaders and their leaders are talking to them and letting them know and being enthusiastic about the work that they're doing. So that's my social media tip for the week, mainly because I think that that's super, super important. And then secondarily, because I've been just focusing so much time on Teams, I haven't been on my other social media to see what's going on. But I know there are some other things that are out there that I do want to talk about in the future. So make sure that you subscribe to this podcast so that you can know about them. So again, go into Slack, go into Teams, get that ecosystem set up for your team, even if it's you and like 3 or 4 friends that are working on a project, or you and your family. And it doesn't necessarily have to be Teams or Slack. If it's your family, it could be a Facebook group, whatever the group is. Make sure that you're all connected and start doing more short form video clips to them about what's going on, because that will greatly enhance their excitement about it, and it will greatly increase their involvement and keep everything top of mind. We'll be right back. All right. So I want to give a shout out to the person that asked for me to talk a little bit about this. And I hope that I do it justice. I don't think I'm going to be able to go into super deep about why legacy platforms such as network TV and cable TV are no longer dominant. I can give some basic understanding of it, but I'm gonna talk about that, and I'm gonna talk about ways in which you can do like the same thing with it as it relates to getting awareness out through podcasts or through platform streaming advertising such as Roku or Paramount Plus or Hulu. because I think that they can do something really, really great with it that works a lot better than the other industries. And so I asked in my dope updates channel. So I have 25 people in it. If you're listening to this, make sure that you go on Instagram and you join my dope updates channel, because it's more like, I guess, more involvement with the things that I have going on and getting ideas and getting you to listen. And so one of my good person that's from a program that I did with her, her Instagram is Space Aliens, Bad Mothers, and Guns. It's a graphic novel or comic book or like characters that they created. Space Aliens, Bad Mothers, and Guns. So make sure that you go and follow that. And the question that they asked was how legacy platforms such as network and cable TV no longer rule. That's what they wanted to talk about. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And then I'm going to talk about cool things that you can do to replace those advertisements and why the things that replaced it are so much better. Are so much better. All right. So for the first thing, let's just talk about what they're referring to. So it used to be that the most important thing that you could do many, many years ago was you could get an advertisement, you could find a cable network that might fit your demographic or a TV network that might fit your demographic, and you would blast it out just like regular radio. It was just, you could blast that out, and the goal was, let's get it in front of millions and millions of people, and hopefully most of them will move themselves over to purchase. Okay. Or at least to go and research more so you could get them into some type of campaign, maybe a catalog or a magazine or something that you could get them to subscribe to that you could send to them. And this was before email. Email made that better because then you could get their email and then you could go after them a little bit harder. So I love television, and I love movies, and I love TV, and I love acting, and I love all of that. But I think TV's, the way in which TV used to work, where you would flip through the channels and then we had TiVo and then we had DVR and all this other stuff, was that you had no way to actually control it. Right. So because of that, you were left with just flipping through different channels mindlessly, which is really no different than the way in which we scroll on Instagram and social media now. But what's better about that is that rather than you switching through the channels, they can push the channels to you. And that's one of the main things that makes social media advertising so much beneficial. But we'll talk about that in a minute. If we talk about kind of what happened to TV, is that first, the biggest problem that caused TV to kind of fade out, or cable network to fade out, even though cable network still exists, even though I don't think that they're doing a really strong enough job from the cable company's perspective about keeping people on. I think the digital platforms that are being created from it are doing a really good job, but I think that we have subscription burnout, but we won't get into that. So one was there was a rise of the streaming services. So platforms like Netflix mainly changed the entire landscape. Hulu and then Amazon Prime changed the full landscape of it, because those were like networks, but they weren't networks. They were like the first streaming networks where they would go and create their own shows, buy up other shows, and then just stream them for you, which was really cool because it gave you on-demand viewing. You could watch what you want, when you want, and there was no more waiting for your favorite show to air. Like right now in my living room, I have Hulu on, and it has Frasier on for the dogs because Bane loves Niles. I don't know. And Frasier is probably my favorite show. And then I'd probably say after Frasier, my favorite show is Bob's Burger. Is probably one of my favorites, or The Simpsons, but I really enjoy Frasier. And there's not a lot of other sitcoms that I enjoy, but I don't want to get lost on that. Okay. So, and so there was that, but then what made it more powerful was that they created their own original content. So it pulled everybody off all of the cable platforms. So like with Netflix and Hulu and Amazon, they have their own specific shows. And then you like Stranger Things. That's the only reason why I have my Netflix. So I don't watch Netflix at all. The only thing why I keep it is for Stranger Things. And I think my wife and niece watch some of the stuff on it. Hulu is my favorite because it has Frasier, and then Amazon Prime, you get it with Amazon Prime Video, you get with Amazon Prime, even though now there's an upcharge to get rid of the ads or something. But I keep Amazon and occasionally I use it, but I usually use it when I don't have Hulu, and Amazon Prime has Frasier on it. if I'm not mistaken. So that's how I use it. But then they started creating their own original content. It had exclusive shows and movies that you couldn't find anywhere else. So that got people to kind of get stuck there. And so like with me, I don't have network TV. I don't watch network TV. I don't have cable. I just have streaming platforms. And then most of them, there's an ability to watch specifically ad free, which is a problem when you're wanting to advertise your stuff. But a lot of them have opened it up to a really cool ad option. But then you can pay more and get ad free options. And that's how they get their money. You're happy because you don't have to see a bunch of ads. And then they're happy because they're getting your money without having to sell ads. Okay. So that was like the main thing that caused the downfall of network and cable TV. The other thing is the impact of technology. So technology has played a massive role. So high-speed internet, smart TVs, and mobile devices have made it easier than ever to access that streaming content, which is really, really important because the way that I look at it is I like algorithms and I like AI because the more that it understands about me, the less kinds of decisions that I have to make that aren't impactful decision making, like trying to figure out what to watch. Okay. If the AI knows what I like and the algorithm knows what I like, then it can show me what I want to watch when I go onto those platforms. And then I don't have to make that specific decision. Same reason why buying decisions work better through algorithmic knowledge, because they can feed up and show you what you want to buy. And that's why Amazon is so powerful, is because you don't have to worry about that. Let Amazon take care of it. They just need to own all of your information, which we're not going to talk about on this from an anarchist point of view, but that's essentially what's happening. And so technology really, really changed the way in which that happened. So if like high-speed internet didn't happen, then we probably couldn't have done the streaming TV the way that we really wanted to it. The other thing is that the way that we viewed has changed. So a lot of the times, if we look at Generation Z and Generation Alpha, is that they're mainly watching a lot of the stuff on their phones. My niece has a television in her room, but she watches stuff laying in her bed on her phone. And so along with that phone, people don't really give a shit about a giant TV for the most part anymore. They want to be able to access their content wherever they're at. And the only way to do that is through internet and on the phone. And if everything has an app. So it doesn't make sense for the cable networks because you can just go because you can buy what you prefer now and just buy those specific networks. And that's why a lot of that has declined. And that's why a lot of the ad revenue that's spent on television and cable has declined as well. And so more and more as this happens, a lot of these subscriptions are going to die off and eventually a lot of these things will go away, or they're going to have to change the way in which they innovate. So for example, a lot of the television networks like Paramount and CNBC, they all started creating their own streaming platforms, and which again was better for them because it allowed them to control their platform and then they could make their shows for their platform. So like the reason why I have Paramount Plus is because Frasier came back, and so the new episodes of Frasier on Paramount Plus. So then I pay Paramount $10-15 a month. I get access to everything. I don't see any ads, or I see minimal ads, and everybody's happy. And so that's one of the biggest problems and the ways in which the television community died and has completely changed. And the way in which we consume and on the screen, that part is really still the same, but we have better access points to it, which is super important for advertisers. But it's also really good for advertisers is because the more that they control that information and they control what they know about you, which if you remember at the beginning of this, we used to make an advertisement, we used to throw it on the television, and we used to hopefully it gets in front of that many people and so many percentage make it their way to our store or to our website. But now we can really, really target into people. And this is where advertising gets so fun. So for example, I have some new advertisements on Meta that I have to create, and I want to go and I have to make audiences. And I've been talking a lot about this. Spend some time getting to know what your audience is, what the demographic is, what they like, and if there's more than one type of avatar or more than one type of audience that you want to go after with certain type of content, and then test those things. And you couldn't do that very inexpensively when we were focusing on television. But the more that technology changed and created the platforms in which like Meta, where I can go and I can create audiences, I could put a dollar spend friend per day, I can send that out, right? You can also do that on Spotify. You can do that on iHeartRadio. You can do it now with billboards through a company called Blips that I've been using for many years, which we started using for Merlin, right? We have billboards that are going up on tech billboards. They get information about the demographics. That's kind of similar to how the television is, just hope that many people see them. And then you need to have a special URL to track. So for example, on our regular Merlin URL is merlincrypto.com, but on that specific URL, it's trymerlin.io. So we can see the amount of people that go to that and we can get some type of click-through conversion. So and because of that, we're able to make our advertisements and pinpoint them to specific people, which works so much better. And a lot of that changed because Meta really changed the world with that. And then, you can have that platform on TikTok. You can have that type of advertising on Snapchat. You can have that type of advertising on X, and you can have that type of advertising on Google. What's really great about that is because these platforms are getting creative about how to raise revenue, which could be frustrating from a consumer perspective, but from a marketing perspective, fantastic, because I can go and I could get self-serve ads on Paramount. And rather than it going out to everybody that watches Frasier, I can pinpoint it to 15 to 20 year olds. I don't know if any 15, 20 year olds are watching Frasier. I can pinpoint it to 35 and 45 year olds that make $80,000 a year that are watching Frasier, because Paramount's collecting that information. And then I could use that information to specify of who I want to see. Same thing works with Megaphone. You're listening to this podcast. This podcast is distributed from Megaphone. You probably heard some ads at the beginning of this. And in the middle of it, when I said, I'll be right back, those ads are you're specifically only hearing, because I can tell it what type of ads that I want it to hear. And Megaphone knows based off of your IP address of where you're listening to it, the things that you like. And so it serves up dynamic ad content to you unless I tell it to push it to everybody. But if I'm taking audiences of my shows, I can only push my ads to certain shows because I know that those people are listening to that show. So that's why if you have a business, if you have a brand, you need to understand how this world of marketing works, because it lets you get precise on who you're targeting so you can really get a really good return on investment. But the reason why cable and TV, it's all dying off, is because they didn't innovate. They didn't change fast enough. Some of them did change, right? The ones that the network started to change, but the cable, they really didn't do anything much. One of the ones that I think that's doing rough is, Cox. I think, they had like partnerships with certain, sports networks, right? And so like, or like Bally Sports had the Arizona Diamondbacks, but you could only get Bally Sports if you had a specific package or if you bought the Bally Sports app. But people didn't want that. Maybe they just wanted it for like me, like I wanted to just have the Arizona Diamondbacks. So then the MLB decided to make it where you could just purchase the ML Diamondbacks and then I could watch all of those live games. So a lot of these older technologies are going to be left behind because they need to really focus on making something streaming, getting it in front of everybody in the way in which they watch it, and then making their own content for it. And we're going to see more and more of that. And in my opinion, I think we're going to eventually see either cable TV and network TV kind of change fully, or over time, it'll probably just go away. Specifically, maybe cable TV, it just depends on how much the things that they go buy. Because what happens is they go and buy something, and then the idea is that they're going to make that back up on subscriptions. And so it would make more sense, in my opinion, if they created streaming platforms, but now it might be very difficult for a lot of those companies to do it. I know that they do it in some capacity with their current cable programming. So I guess that is kind of like innovating. But like I mentioned, I don't even know anybody that has cable or regular TV. I just think it's too expensive when I can just buy the apps that I know that has the shows that I want to watch on it. So to summarize, again, TV and cable, I think, is going to continue to either change or go away. And for you as a business owner or someone who's managing a brand, I really, really encourage you to go and educate yourself on how to use Meta, start running Facebook ads, start running Instagram ads, learn how to use Snapchat, learn how to use X, or use the platforms where you think most of your people are going to be. One of the best ones is LinkedIn, great for business to business sales. You can have ads on there. You can do all kinds of stuff. And more importantly, if you have something where you need to reach mass awareness, you could do something like Blips. Check out blips.com. You could do something like Spotify ads. You could do something like Paramount Plus, Hulu ads, but you do need to make video. But you could get it in front of a more focused demographic than you could have otherwise with TV or cable. And those things might have some things that have changed, but based off of just looking at what I know about this, I mainly am using either the direct streaming platforms ad platform, like Hulu's platform or Paramount Plus, and I'm also using Meta, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, X, and Google search and Blips. So again, all of this has to do with how you can market to your demographic. So if you have a brand or you have a business, you should right now, no matter what, have money put into creating awareness for your business. So let me know what you think about this what you thought about this episode. Go and check out my Instagram dope channels. I'll be asking you guys more about some of the things that you want to hear on that. And if you're a content creator, join my dope channels. Let me know that you want to be on the podcast, or DM me or Snapchat me and let me know you want to be on the podcast. And with that, as I always say, be thankful, grateful, and kind, and we'll talk with you next time. Bye.
You were born in your dying, honey, I'm already crying.
Thank you so much for listening to The Age of Jeremy. I hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it, make sure that you like and subscribe and share it with as many people as possible. If your podcatcher allows you to do that, you can also check it out on YouTube at Age of Jeremy. So if you're listening to this on the podcatcher, go to YouTube at Age of Jeremy, and you can listen to it on YouTube as well, and YouTube Music. The opening song was Brave Faces. Nope, it wasn't. The opening song was Positive Charge by Gaslight Anthem. The closing song was Gardens and it was Positive Change, I think. Positive Change by Gaslight Anthem. Closing song is Gardens by Trevor Hall. I use Neumann microphones. I record into my Zoom L8. I record to Steinberg's Cubase, and I use Waves plugins. And one last time, be thankful, grateful, and kind. We'll talk with you next time. Bye.